I'm Daryl Morey. The first thing I'm trying to do is get James Harden to become a Philadelphia 76er.
Ooh.
Even if it means me trading Ben Simmons. Let me say this again. I love me some Ben Simmons. I know how elite defensively he is. He's only 24 years of age, 6'10". You know, plays defense the way that he does, the basketball IQ, the basketball ability. But I will remind everybody, while we sit here and we lament the state of affairs with the Houston Rockets and all of this other stuff, let me remind everybody that for the last 3 years, James Harden has averaged 30, 36, and 34. When you talk about Harden with a big man, the quality of a Joel Embiid, a healthy Joel Embiid, you're talking chip. I'm at least getting to the finals. This is what we're talking about here. I'm tired of people not appreciating the greatness of James Harden. It ain't just one-on-one basketball. His ability to get to the free throw line, to draw fouls, to dance on you, to create his own shot, to hit from three, to hit mid-range shots, to finish at the basket. This brother is a magician on the offensive side of the ball. He's an absolute scoring machine, okay? If you give him guys around him, that, especially somebody like Embiid that can ball, especially some defenders, it works. Now remember, Ben Simmons' new contract starts this coming season. He's going to be making $29 million this season. Goes up to 31, 33, and beyond. Harden's at $38 million. If you're the Houston Rockets, yes, you don't want Russell Westbrook with Ben Simmons because, I got news for you. I don't give a damn how much Ben Simmons practices. I don't give a damn how much he improves. He'll never be able to shoot like James Harden.
So the Philadelphia 76ers officially hired Daryl Morey as their president of basketball operations yesterday. And for those of you guys that don't know what that really means, is it's kind of like a level higher than a GM, and he controls the GM, but he's not necessarily the owner of the franchise. The only other person I could compare this to is pretty much Doc Rivers' situation when he was with the Clippers. He was both the coach and the general manager. He was technically the president of basketball operations there before he got fired. But of course, he answered to Steve Ballmer. And then more recently, last year, the New Orleans Pelicans hired David Griffin as their president of basketball operations. Although I'm not really sure who their general manager is, so I think it's kind of like a more prestigious title for David Griffin. I'm not sure. Pelicans fans, let me know who your general manager is if there is an additional guy. Now, really quickly, guys, I have some very exciting news. A lot of you guys have been requesting for me to break back into gaming, and I do a lot of that on my Twitch, on twitch.tv/FlightMike, but there's been some gems over there that I feel like you guys have never seen. For example, a lot of you guys haven't seen De'Aaron Fox roast the living crap out of me for my 1v1 versus Flight. And, well, we uploaded a video on that on TheFlightMike TV. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below if you want to check out my gaming channel. And also, we have merch online up until Tuesday at TheFlightMike.com. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mike check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Your boy Mike back again with some NBA news. Now, guys, I want to take a moment to apologize to you guys yesterday. I uploaded a video on Dwight Howard. Some of you guys felt like that video was a little bit personal. I just want you guys to understand that on this channel, I try to get you guys as much content as possible. And when you upload damn near like twice a day, you're gonna have a video here and there that's bad. But the good news is I'm always gonna look at your comments, and I'm always gonna accept the feedback you guys give me, and I'm always going to try to angle the channel towards a direction that all you guys like. So I'd like to apologize to Mike Mafia if yesterday's content bothered any of you. I took it down. And let's get to what we have to talk about today, because I have a pretty interesting rumor that a lot of us were putting together the moment Daryl Morey was hired by the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the Houston Rockets have some news of their own. They went out and hired a brand new head coach, the Dallas Mavericks assistant coach, Silas, who is the son of Paul Silas, who is probably, at least in my head, Paul Silas is kind of like most notorious for being LeBron James's rookie head coach for the first 2 to 3 years of his career, but other than that, I don't really know much about Paul Silas. But of course, a lot of you guys remember that Daryl Morey has this huge crush on James Harden. I mean, we all know that Daryl Morey thinks James Harden is probably the greatest offensive player of all time. I've shown you guys that one clip over and over and over again.
If you looked at data at the time, once he had the ball in his hands, and it's still true to this day, and I get a lot of shit because, someone asked me who's a better scorer, him or Michael Jordan, and it's just factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan.
Based on the math.
Based on literally, like, you give James Harden the ball, and before you're giving up the ball, how many points do you generate, which is how you should measure offense. James Harden is by far number one in NBA history, and he was number one even at the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And a lot of us thought, okay, now that Daryl Morey is going to be the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Houston Rockets appear to be heading towards a rebuild in a new direction away from the Moneyball era that featured Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni, that maybe the Philadelphia 76ers would try to trade for James Harden. And it kind of made some sense, like a little bit of sense, not a lot of sense. You have Ben Simmons. He's not really good at spacing the floor. He's a great playmaker. He's great in the open court, but he's not so good in the half court. He's a weird fit with Joel Embiid. We've heard this ad nauseum over and over and over again. So I guess on the surface, at least in an NBA casual fan's mind, it made a lot of sense. But here's the thing. The Houston Rockets caught wind of this report, and they reacted to the reports of a potential trade between the Philadelphia 76ers and themselves, and it goes like this. Now, according to Tim McMahon, we have an update in regards to how the Houston Rockets feel about James Harden. And this is what he said on Adrian Wojnarowski's podcast, ironically called the Woj Pod. What I can say right now is that the Houston Rockets are 100% committed to trying to cash in on James Harden's prime. They consider him to be the best player in the league. Tim McMahon also goes on to say that the Rockets have no interest in a James Harden for Ben Simmons swap. The answer from Houston will be a firm no. So I only have one question when it comes to this report, and I feel like it's a silly question, so I guess you guys could answer this. You guys remember when the Houston Rockets said that they'd be interested in trading for Joel Embiid? Do you think a James Harden for Embiid deal might be on the table? I don't think so. I really think it's absolutely ridiculous to suggest such a thing. I think the Rockets would like to trade Russell Westbrook for Joel Embiid, but putting Russell Westbrook next to Ben Simmons sounds like an absolute spacing nightmare. So I can't see that happening either. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Philadelphia 76ers try to build this team, because again, I've said this in my previous video, Daryl Morey is a huge proponent of shooting the three ball and avoiding taking mid-range jumpers as much as humanly possible. Think about it. When's the last time you saw James Harden take a mid-range jumper? So it's going to be very fascinating to see how they're going to build this team if they don't trade for James Harden. But I didn't really think that a James Harden trade to Philadelphia was plausible to begin with. As a matter of fact, I just feel like that's a rumor that most ESPN analysts, yes, you Stephen A., just like to say just to grab a headline during the offseason, because I don't think Daryl Morey's top priority is trading for James Harden. You have Ben Simmons, who's just 23. He hasn't even entered his prime yet. He's still figuring himself out as a player. You have yet to experience him potentially playing the small ball center or playing the power forward position, which they did experiment with a little bit in the bubble. As a matter of fact, I think Daryl Morey's number one priority would be cleaning up the absolute disgusting monstrosity of a mess that Elton Brand has created for him, like shedding the contract of Al Horford, trying to bring more three-point shooters to surround Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid with, and I guess stockpiling some assets. I don't think that they're in any rush whatsoever, because Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers have a 5-year contract with the Philadelphia 76ers, and it appears as though they're really doing a good job constructing that new front office. So I'm excited to see the culture shift in Philadelphia. I really hope an individual will be able to make the most out of Joel Embiid's career, because Joel Embiid, in my opinion, is probably our only hope for seeing the NBA traditional center come back. He is the perfect combination of a center that could occasionally shoot, but also is a finesse post-up big man. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think that the Philadelphia 76ers need to make a huge trade? Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.